Should we explain the second mic that we're not even using?
Sure.
Okay. Hey everyone, so we have a second mic that has been in the frames for these videos for a few weeks now. We haven't actually been using it. It's kind of a backup mic in case this one doesn't pick me up, but it's been picking me up really well. The other thing is this mic here is very high quality. And so there's like a distinctive sound difference between the two mics, and we feel like it's just kind of like disruptive if we switch back and forth between the two. Is disruptive the right word?
Yeah, like if I talk, I'd be using this mic when editing, I guess. And then, you'd be using that mic. But yeah, it's like, it'd be noticeable to a listener.
Yeah. And we care about all of our listeners and viewers. We recorded this little bit earlier in the show and then realized that my specific mic was off. But yeah, let's talk about the microphone real quick.
Yeah, and I was gonna try to edit it so like everything Rylan just said is through that mic, and now you hear me through the other mic, and you can kind of hear the difference. Probably, fingers crossed, it will probably come through. So then you can see the difference where like it makes Rylan very clear, and I will sound like maybe more fuzzed out.
Yeah, so, we're thinking about other potential solutions. For now, this is just like a backup mic in case this one doesn't work for me during an episode. The nature of this mic, the reason why we can't use this one mic to capture both of us is because this mic only captures like the little zone like right in front of it. It's like if I don't have it like right up to my mouth, it won't capture me at all. So just an interesting little restriction with this mic. Welcome to the wardrobe. This is the Who You Know podcast. I'm Rylan Deemer.
And I'm Elisa Wildy.
And we've got a great show for you today. What are we talking about, Elisa?
Well, we got the new game, Elden Ring.
Yeah,
right?
You got it.
That just came out. We'll talk about that. Our thoughts on Ukraine. We'll hit on that. And the nature of regret.
So a very lighthearted episode, front to back.
Yeah. Maybe the first part.
yeah, Elden Ring. I guess let's talk about it. So I have Elden Ring. I'm seeking the shards of the Elden Ring, and you don't have Elden Ring, right?
How? Or like the game. Will. I don't have the game. Is that what you mean?
Right. Yeah. Okay. You don't have the game.
I don't have the game.
Oh, we should probably explain. Elden Ring's a video game. Now, some of you might be hearing video game and then tuning out because you're not interested, but we're not really going to be talking about the game. We're going to be talking about why people like it and what kind of keeps people coming back. And I think it's something that goes beyond just video games.
Okay, yeah, because like I don't know much about it, so I'm going to be asking questions along with everyone else who doesn't know anything about it. So I do know that this is a Souls game.
What does that mean? That's
what I was going to ask you.
Okay. So when somebody says that a game is a Souls game or a Souls-like, that's referring to the genre of game, right? Okay. So you've got like shooter games.
I think every game is a fighting game. That's what I always say. That's not a real genre though, is it?
Fighting game is a genre. That would be like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat. Those are titles that probably most people have heard of.
Okay.
There's platformer games. That's like Super Mario Brothers.
Yep.
Yeah, lots of different game genres. One of the newest game genres, though, is Souls-like games. And that term is coined after the company that made these games, From Software. They kind of created the genre. So they had a game called Demon Souls, and then they had a series of 3 games called Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, and then a couple other titles that follow that Souls-like formula. And it's I would say like, that first game kind of created the Souls-like formula, and then when Dark Souls came out, that's what popularized it, and then people started referring to games as like Souls-like if they followed a similar formula.
Like, what is the formula? I feel like, is there, like, what I'm picturing, you can tell me if this is right or wrong, is like the character is a soul. I don't even know. That's all I got.
Okay.
Am I close?
Okay. Okay. We're starting from the ground floor here, it seems. So a Souls-like game, I think the word soul doesn't really mean much
Oh, really?
as far as describing the genre, because it's not about the soul or anything like that. But these games are defined by a gameplay loop that features very difficult combat encounters, and as you defeat foes, you acquire some kind of in a lot of these games they're referred to as souls, but they can go by other names as well. You like accumulate as like a currency almost, like souls from the enemies that you defeat.
Okay.
And then you can spend those to upgrade your character. Okay. However, if you ever die, all of those souls that you've accumulated get lost if you haven't already purchased an upgrade with them. So it's a very punishing gameplay experience. You need to play at like a very high level, like near perfect, in order to get past a lot of these encounters without losing your progress.
Yeah, so this kind of reminds me, I think when Dan was playing Demon Souls, that was like the first one, right? That he was yelling a lot while playing it and very upset. And it reminded me of like when the Eagles are doing bad, when the Sixers are doing bad. And I was like, what is wrong? And so he just said it's a very, like, it's a lot, it was like a step up from some of the other games he's played in like terms of difficulty or complications. And I'm sure that's what he was upset about.
Yeah, and I think that's an important point. These Souls-like games are broadly considered to be the most difficult games that you can try to play. And in the past, so we're going to jump back a couple decades. In the past, games would often have kind of a unfair level of difficulty. Think about games like Frogger, Pac-Man. These older games that were first featured in arcades were designed to make you lose once you get a couple levels in. So you would have to really memorize things or have like an approach that you practice over and over and over again, because they wanted more of your quarters going into the machine, right? So that's like kind of an artificial way of creating difficulty, whereas the Souls-like games that we have now, having like such a difficult game but in a way that still feels fair is a really impressive thing that this game company's done.
What makes you want to play a difficult game?
So I like to play games that are difficult yet fair. And that's what I'm getting out of Elden Ring right now. So what makes me want to play it is, I'll describe a mechanic real quick, like a game system to help illustrate this. You have a button on the controller that you can press that makes you do like a dodge roll.
Okay.
Right after you press that button, there's like 0.35 seconds worth of time where you can't take damage. You can't be hit by a sword. You can't be struck by the dragon's tail. Like a very short window of time, like a third of a second. And so, as you confront a foe, you don't know like what the timing is of when they swing the sword. How long do they wind up? How quickly do they have a back strike? When does their boot lash out at you? You don't know the timing of those things. And so you inevitably fail. You try to dodge, but you mistime it. You get hit, you get knocked down, they stab you, and your game is over, and you start back, 5 minutes prior or whatever. But as you continue running up to that foe over time, you learn that rhythm. It becomes a dance between you and the opponent.
Yeah.
Like every time that he reaches into his pocket, even though he's swinging at you with a sword, he's also about to throw a knife at you. So the rhythm of those two beats, and you know when to press your button to dodge. And after so many confrontations against the same opponent, and learning the timing of those dodges, you also learn when you have your brief moments of opportunity to attack the foe yourself.
Yeah.
So it becomes this like interesting back and forth between you and the game system to learn that rhythm. And after repeating it so many times, you hit a flow state. So those of you who, might have desk jobs, you know that a flow state is such like a great thing to achieve during a work day, because it's like suddenly you're getting work done at an incredible rate and you're feeling like good. You're feeling like uplifted by it. That's what these games do. They kind of force you into achieving a flow state in order to get past the opponents. Not many games can do that. Most games I'll just have like a podcast going as I'm playing it because I can, have my attention split. Whereas the Souls-like genre of games, and also I'll add Monster Hunter into the mix, they manage to like force the flow state upon you, and it feels incredible. You feel like the rhythm is like a part of you. It's like dancing. It's a very same sensation to me.
Wow. I guess I never thought of video games feeling like that to someone. Yeah. It was just a surprising comparison.
Yeah, you can imagine being frustrated though, as you're running up to the same foe 12 times in a row, barely making any progress. And it's only when you hit that, when it all finally comes together and you hit the rhythm right, you manage to take the foe down at the end of it. And that rush, that feeling, is probably similar to passing an actuarial exam.
Wow. So that made me feel like maybe the frustration levels, like to me, so like let's say you kept running up, but then you like beat them, you got that flow going, but then you run into the next one and fail right away. Yep. It seems like a very high and then a very low in the like same 10 minutes. Would that be? Yeah, 15 minutes?
That can happen. Okay. There's also like lessons learned from an earlier foe can help you kind of ease into the frustration of the next foe, but inevitably there's going to be a lot of like failure that you have to persist through in order to triumph.
I feel like I'm starting to understand what the feeling might be like, because I mean, I played GameCube when I was very young. Very young games included SpongeBob, Finding Nemo. But like now that you're saying this, like I was on the edge of my chair playing Finding Nemo, because as soon as I got past the part I could never get past, it was like a rush of like, I did it. So I feel like I can kind of get that, but again, very different game as a child.
Well, and you experience this in your daily life as well, to the extent that you work really hard, persist through frustration in order to achieve something.
Yep.
So, actuarial exams, I think, is a really obvious example of that.
Yeah.
Where you just kind of run up against the foe every day for months. And then you finally make it to the boss chamber and hope that all of the prep that you did can get you through that fight.
That's it. Yeah. And even work, like you're working on a project really long time, you finally get over that hump. Turns out well, you're proud you accomplished it. So how long do you think you'll spend on it? Like how long will it take you to finish the game?
I don't really have a good concept of that. Actually, a lot of the reviewers for Elden Ring didn't even finish the game, which is
really
unusual.
That sounds bad. Like, is it a bad ending?
No, it's I don't know if it's good or bad. It's more the nature of the game. This one is more open in scope. We don't need to spend too long kind of going into it, but it's what's considered an open world game. So you have you can choose to go north, you can choose to go south, you can choose to go east, whatever. And that makes the game quite broad, and they've added a lot of really interesting like optional content. Yeah. And so a lot of reviewers didn't even get to the end of the game before the review embargo dropped. But of course, they all wanted to have the review out as soon as that embargo dropped.
Yep.
Yeah, and I guess I'll also just mention the game, as of a couple days ago, it had the highest Open Critic score of any game of all time.
Wow.
Which is obviously an incredible feat.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a game for everyone, but I think I can recommend it to people a lot easier than I could recommend any other Souls-like game.
Thanks
So,
for sharing.
Yeah, thank you for asking questions.
Yeah.
So, everyone, persist through the foes that challenge you in your life. Prepare to face them, and do some research beforehand about whatever you may be confronting in life.
Wow. I went deep from real life lessons taught right there too.
Yeah. Speaking of preparing, do you ever think about like, because we have the Russia-Ukraine situation. Do you ever think about, and I can't imagine being the Ukraine people right now, how hard that must be. But do you think about like if war, and I know this is the most unlikely thing, but if war were to like come here,
yep,
like how, I don't even know how to ask this. Like, what's the game plan, Elisa?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Well, like I've definitely thought about it, so I feel like I can have kind of an answer. But I think when this started, like the first day when Russia like actually attacked, the first day, physically, I did kind of have those thoughts like, what if that just happened to where I live? Like, what would be my first thing? And like, I think I would just listen to whatever people told me. If they said evacuate, I would evacuate. I don't know where I would go. Like, it depends where everything else is happening. Would I go to a different country? Would I just go to a different state? Like, just where family is. Like, I don't know where, but I would get in my car, and like I saw pictures of that in Ukraine of just the cars lined up ready to leave. Like, it just seems crazy, but I would get out and not know where I'm going right away and figure it out as I go. But like,
and I assume you'd bring Dan and Jackson. Yeah.
I thought you were just gonna ask about Jackson. I was like, yes, to Jackson.
Well, so I don't know like what like family priorities. Do you know what I mean? Like,
no,
would you be like taking the family with you? Like,
I think so, unless there was a reason someone needed to stay. I don't know, but I think so. Like, my parents do live like in the same city as me, so I would probably be calling them up and be like, "What are you doing? Like, where are you going?" And if they were like, "Oh, we're just gonna stay here," I'd be like, "No, I don't think you should," type of thing. But again, I'd listen to like what's going on around me and what officials are telling me to do. I don't know if that's the right word, but like I know they've said evacuate or like whatever. So like I'd probably listen. Might travel together, with family to like make sure we all get to the same place.
It's like you, Dan, Jackson would form like a caravan with like your family, and then
because I think it's them, and then I don't know, maybe Dan would call his parents who live in a different state and be like, where are you going? I don't know if we would meet up, just go where we can. But we'd probably all be in contact with each other, hopefully. Yeah.
It's one of those things where like it's hard to plot out without like a specific situation in mind. But what like comes to my mind a lot after like this Ukraine situation started is like people who don't have cars, like they don't have a vehicle, either because they can't afford it or just because their lifestyle doesn't need it. Like what do they do? Or, maybe they just don't have the means to leave, if it's like a paycheck to paycheck kind of situation, you can only afford, so much gasoline and food for the road, and you're not going to be making money. It's scary to think about.
Definitely. And I feel like I don't know if I want to go this way. I was just talking to someone about how we were talking about like adaptations or mutations as we've gone through life, and like why we have tonsils but don't need them, stuff like that. And like why haven't we like just gotten rid of that body part in our life or something if it was only useful way back when. And we're like, well, survival of the fittest isn't really a thing anymore because we have like societies, civilizations. But like this could be an example where like something could hurt you and like it wipes out like a certain type of community just because they weren't able to get out of their situation.
Yeah.
Which is, really sad to think about
Yeah.
that it could happen.
So what you're saying is like it disproportionately affects like some groups of people, like who who have like fewer means or
in this case, like people who like couldn't afford to have a car or gasoline or and are there plans in place to like protect that type of people? Is it because like if, for example, if you were in charge of a city that was under attack, would you be focusing? It'd be hard to focus your attention on every single type of person while you're trying to protect the city at the same time. But are there plans in place already to help that process go more smoothly? I have no idea because like it's not a situation we think about often.
Yeah.
But if it happened to our city, like, what are the plans? That makes me interested.
Yeah. Also, to be clear, I think there's like no chance we would ever be in a wartime situation where we live.
I hope so, yeah.
But it's just like a thought exercise, I guess.
Right. And like, I always think about the what ifs, even how crazy the what ifs are, and sometimes that can be bad.
I think something that could be more realistic is like a natural disaster of some sort.
Oh, yeah.
And, there's some that could reach us.
Yep.
Where we live. So the idea of having like a go bag.
Yeah.
That's like something that you could just like throw into the car and get going. I like that idea, and I've thought about it a lot. It's just I've never like actually taken the time to like create a go bag. But
they had like that huge, I think it was it a snowstorm that like stopped all traffic on the East Coast basically for like 12 or 14 hours, and people were like in their cars for 14 hours, and I heard someone say like, I should put a blanket in my car. I'm like, I already have one because I'm always worried about that too.
No, it's smart.
Yeah, and I had to drive like an hour away yesterday, and I hadn't done that in a while in my car, and I was freaking out a little bit, and I'm like, what if my car stops on the side of the road and I don't know what to do? I have a blanket. It's cold out. I don't know. That was okay, I think this is what I was going to bring up. Do you know what the weather is like over there in Ukraine? Like, I'm wondering, is it cold? Is it freezing?
I don't know.
I don't know either, because I think when I was seeing people evacuate, I was kind of thinking about that. Like, if they're just, like, evacuating by foot, how cold is it? If their home is destroyed and they're out on the street now, like, how cold is it for them? Like, it seems like it would be cold, but I actually don't know.
Yeah. You know what I'm curious? I'm curious to know what our viewers and listeners have as far as, like, disaster preparedness.
Yeah.
Like, are you a go bagger? Do you have a bomb shelter under your house? Do you do nothing? So sound off in the comments. We'd love to hear like what you all do to prepare.
Does anyone have those secret rooms you see in the movies that are like 3 stories deep that you had no idea existed, and they're hiding prisoners in there?
That sounds super cool.
I bet they exist, right?
Not the prisoners part.
Yeah.
I was starting to like say it before I processed what you're.
No prisoners. But yeah, like I think bomb shelters used to be more of a thing, like back in the day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've heard, so I did see a very interesting post by like a classmate, I guess, college. What do you call that? College classmate?
You can say classmate.
I saw a post by them on Facebook because their family is from Ukraine. And he was just saying how crazy it is because he still has family over there, and like some people are like digging bomb shelters right now.
Wow.
Like, which is just, I don't know. I can't. Obviously, if you're in Ukraine, that like I can't imagine it, but even family outside of Ukraine that has family in Ukraine, like that is still almost just as scary, I feel like, if my family was over there. I also, this week, because this has been going on for almost a week, less than a week.
It's been
as of recording.
It's been like 3 or 4 days. Oh, at the time that this is published, I think it'll be about a week.
Yeah. So like, but even still, the last couple of days that it's been going on, I feel like I've been so busy to like not even be able to dig into like all the stories, because I think I had time for one podcast in the shower and I got to listen, but like I am just hungry to learn more, I feel like, because I don't know all the details still, and
And I think this is
To educate.
the first like big military action that we've had in a country where like cell phones are super prevalent and lots of
Yeah.
info is like coming out. So that'll be interesting to see like how the world processes that.
Mm-hmm. Because I even like I like logged into YouTube today. I don't remember where I was going, but like the first cover page was like a live feed of how do you Kiev? Is
Give,
it
yeah.
Kiev? So it was like a live stream, and I'm just like, oh man, what will I didn't click on it because I was like, going to YouTube for other reasons, but I'm just like, what will I see?
Yeah. Well, and
It's just hard to believe.
I'm very curious to see like how that may impact the military action itself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, will having the fact that information can spread so quickly,
Very true.
like, will that influence the outcome?
Yeah. Because let me think if I can think of what I saw. I saw a post that said, like, this is what it was like in 1939. It's just we have social media to, like, see it all over now or something like that.
You know what I just realized?
What?
This mic is off.
Oh, no. I can't.
Yeah, we did it again. I did it again.
Well,
I'll take the blame for it for sure.
Is it really off though? Because it's moving.
Yeah, so it moves, but I've got it muted on the thing.
Oh no.
Do you want me to unmute it and we can try to?
Sure. Yeah. I feel like our last topic is about the nature of regret. I feel like you had a good you were talking about this with someone last night, and they were talking about how they wanted to kind of like live a life without regrets. Is that right?
Yeah. I really appreciated that conversation that I had with a good friend. So I don't think we probably don't need to talk much about like our actual regrets that we've had, because certainly I have them. But like the idea of looking forward in life, looking to your future and trying to live your life in a way that limits your regrets. So help me out, Elisa. How do I do that?
Well, that's like what my first thought was. I was like, sometimes I think we regret stuff that happened by accident and you couldn't really control, but still might have a feeling of regret. But otherwise, I was trying to think of the thought process in my head of like, how do I tell myself before I even realize it that you're going to regret this? Like, how does that get triggered in my brain? And some of it, I think, is like, what are the consequences? Because like, there's going to be consequences with every decision you make. And both sides might have like a word, like a negative or like a con to it. But yeah, you kind of have to like weigh them, which one is more. And that's something I do with my life all the time. So then it's like, well, which one will I regret more? And that's like a difficult thing to think about, because I'm like a very happy-go-lucky, like whatever, I'm like a go with the flow, whatever happens to me, I'm happy with. So it's like maybe harder for me to feel like, oh, I'm gonna regret this if I don't do it, because I'll like take the step to like enjoy wherever I am, whatever I'm doing. But I think if you ever have that, like, I feel like I'm still thinking about like what will alert you that you're going to regret it. And like, I think there's probably that certain feeling of like, but, and so I feel like I need to pay attention to that.
So I think what you're describing is your inner voice kind of piping up.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm trying to think back to an example. I don't need to share one, but I'm just trying to think of one for my own benefit to like, what was I feeling like in the time? And I can't think of something right now.
Well, so I can try to come up with one from my own. And I've talked in episodes in the past about how I like to chase coincidences.
Oh, yeah.
And to me, when I have that feeling click where I'm like, oh, there's a coincidence. If I don't like do something to like pursue the coincidence, I will feel regret. I'll feel like I like something's off. Like I just missed out on some like secret of the universe almost. Like it feels like a very strong pull, and if I go against it, then I feel like I've just missed out.
I feel like this kind of might.
It's like a spiritual FOMO.
So I think.
Can we put that in the episode title?
Spiritual
FOMO.
I like it. That makes me feel like you almost like realize or know what you are most interested or driven towards in life, and so I feel like that will help guide decisions too once you realize that.
That is a great point.
Yeah, and I don't know if I necessarily have pinpointed that for my own life, which is why maybe like my regrets feel more accidental, because I also think I'm learning as I go. Like I did kind of think of one now in my head, and I'm like, in the time, I kind of like regret not spending as much time with friends in high school, for example. Yeah. And like, because I spent probably a lot more time like with my boyfriend at the time. And so because then I didn't develop like deeper connections with just friends too. And so that's kind of a regret. But I feel like at the time, it didn't feel like a regret. But now as like my life has moved forward, it does. So now I'm kind of like learning as I go almost, and just like recognizing and teaching myself. So then hopefully, like I'm thinking when I have kids, I'm sure my parents were like, you should spend more time with your friends. But I like just didn't. I was like, you don't know how I want to live my life. But I mean, so it's going to be difficult to tell a kid or a high schooler that anyway. But I'm glad that I know that now. And then I can think about that as I move forward with my life decisions now, I guess.
Yeah, and the point you make about how you don't necessarily know what you'll regret, I think that's like, for me, it took so long to figure out like what I truly value, what really drives and motivates me, what gives me feelings of joy. And I mean, it just took so long, to like get to the point where I felt like I understand myself 80% at least.
Yeah.
And I would guess that's the same for a lot of people. And so, I mentioned the example of like chasing coincidences, but for me, it's important that like what I do has some kind of higher meaning or layered meaning to it. And like spending time with friends is so important, and knowing that when I get invited to something that like I should do what I can to like go there and attend and spend time with people that I care about, as opposed to like, working late on a work project every day for weeks on end. Like I've learned now that one of those things I will regret and the other one I won't. And just knowing where to put my time so that I can go through life and look at myself in the mirror and be happy with what I see. And
That's true.
I want to be an old man and just think back on all these pleasant moments and just feel good about like the relationships that I've had.
Yeah. I kind of agree with you. I feel like also as I've gotten older, obviously everyone around me gets older too, and so I've kind of almost like been weighing family more and more too, because like I said, everyone's getting older, so like I want to make sure I have time with my family, but again with my friends too, because I do think that spending time with those types of people is more valuable than like spending time at work.
Yeah Well, and I think with COVID and how isolated things became, like the person that I was talking to last night was living alone through COVID, and that is certainly, I think a lot of people have learned about the importance of having these connections and spending time with people that you care about, because we've seen the other side, like, and it's not a good state to be in.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that's like Yeah, I almost want to say my advice is like kind of what you already said, is like figure out what your priorities are, because it's going to be different for everyone, and weigh things that way. This just made me think of another question now. Were you going to say something first?
Well, is it like a change in topic?
No. Well, it's still regret.
Okay, yeah, let's go
So,
with it.
like, what do you think is the benefit of trying to live without regrets?
Let me think. So, if you regret something, generally, I think that means that you're not being like true to yourself or like authentic. Like, you're not allowing your authentic self to act.
Yeah.
So like for me, I have a certain way that I am, and sometimes I've tried to like go against that, whether to like fit in with people or culture, or because I feel like my authentic self won't be accepted in the environment that I'm in, and I always feel icky about that, or like, yeah, it feels bad, it feels depressing. But when I'm like authentic to myself and operating in a way that is like, you know, allowing me to express my inner truth, I don't like a lot of the way I'm phrasing this right now, but like, there's like a core Rylan who I want people to know and understand and love and engage with. And if I'm not being my authentic self, then even though people might be engaging with me and liking me, I feel like they're not like actually connecting to my core, and so it feels like disingenuous in some way, or like
unvaluable.
Like they don't know the real me, and so like what does it even mean that they, you know, were connecting with me in that moment?
Yeah. And
so that's why I want to avoid regret. To go back to your question, like I want to be the participant. The core of me wants to be the participant, not some mask that I have on, not like a act that I'm putting on because I think I need to behave a certain way in this particular situation. I want it to be me out there.
Yeah.
I want you to like me for who I am.
And if you don't, see ya. Like, that's
see you later.
But yeah, if people don't appreciate it, that's like part of it. Like, okay, I don't want you in my life. No regrets. Like,
yeah, and that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, there are definitely probably like toxic people in people's lives that are like ruining the authentic person inside. So
yeah.
But it's also hard to like say, sorry, I don't want to do this with you, or sorry, give me my own time. Sometimes it's just hard to do.
Yeah.
I'm even thinking, so like, I was probably one of those middle schoolers that was like YOLO all the time, high school, whenever YOLO was a big thing. But it still kind of has meaning to me. Like, this is our one life right now. How are we going to spend it? You only have so much time. Like I've said this before in other episodes. I kind of mentioned it today. I didn't say it was a fear, but like I have a fear of like getting old. And so that's why I always want to live like every day like the best I can to like enjoy every day. And so I think that is why I'm so much of like a go with the flow type of person too, because I'm like, I'm here now. Why don't I do this now? Because I'm alive right now. And so even YOLO is a funky saying. I do like the meaning somewhat. It can also be like, oh, I'm gonna go do something dangerous because YOLO.
That's like the context that you normally hear it is right before somebody does something obnoxiously stupid.
Yeah, I'm not like that. I'm an actuary. I avoid the risk.
Yeah.
I'm alive right now, but I want to be alive tomorrow too.
I hear you.
Have you ever seen We're the Millers? Should we get some no regrets tattoos now?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh man. Okay, I'll show them later.
Yeah, let's get the tats,
you guys know. Yeah.
I don't need to see the show. Let's just get tatted up.
Yeah.
YOLO.
I can't die from a tattoo, right? I've said this before. This is off topic now, but I've said before, like, I want to get a tattoo at some point in my life just to know what it's like. It won't kill me. It'll hurt. But
Sure.
I just want to see what it feels like, and it's not gonna ruin the quality of my life. I don't think it'll be
When you
time
say-
spent in a chair.
When you say see what it feels like, do you mean like the needle itself, or do you mean like see what it
Yeah.
feels like to have a tattoo on you?
I meant like the experience of getting it. Yeah.
Oh,
Couldn't
you just get like? I would imagine you could do like an inkless tattoo and just like get poked by a needle a lot.
I think I do still want it on me though.
Okay.
And be like, yeah, I did that. Because I don't know if I'll like it too. And like, I don't think I'll hate a tattoo so much that I'm like, oh my God, why did I ever do that?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I kind of want to see, like, do I actually like that or not? It's kind of like one of those things, like, you can't judge someone if you don't know what it's like. And so then if I get it, I'm just like, now I know the experience someone went through and like why they appreciated someone. I feel like I'll like it. That's why I'm like,
Yeah.
for it. You
Cool.
don't have any tattoos, right?
No.
Okay. I didn't think so, but.
Yeah. No.
Do you want one?
I've got one in mind actually.
Oh.
Yeah, I have one in mind.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that maybe.
Yeah. Another day.
Are we at the end here?
I don't know. Any more?
Any more regrets? Are you gonna regret if we shut off the episode now?
I don't know. Depends what the time is.
I think we're good on time.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I feel like this could be it. The end of what is this, number 19?
Wow, really?
Yeah, we're almost at 20. I
Oh,
guess.
we've been slaying it. This is
Yeah.
great.
Number 19.
Yeah. Hey, we love you all. Even our audio only listeners, and I feel like I need to say that now because I suspect in the next week, maybe, we're gonna have our RSS feed linked up to Spotify and Apple Music.
At least, yeah.
Yeah. So we will have audio only listeners, which means I probably need to stop insulting them in every episode. Yeah, we appreciate everyone who tunes in every week to listen and watch us and comment, and please like, share, and subscribe because that really helps us out a lot.
Thank you for listening today.
Yeah. Bye.
Yeah, see ya.
We're never gonna get that outro.
That was okay.